I want to talk about toxic relationships. Have you ever been in a toxic relationship? I want to address this from a different angle. Excuse me. And possibly bring out some things or draw your attention to some things that maybe you didn't think of, if this applies to you. One thing that I noticed unanimously across the board is when people are in toxic relationships or have been in toxic relationships, they always talk about the other person. You know, they'll say things like the person is a narcissist. That's probably one of the most common things I've heard from people that have been in toxic relationships. They tend to say or accuse the other person of being a narcissist. They may say things like, the person was abusive, physically, verbally, mentally, emotionally, whatever. Whatever it is, there always seems to be a victim, and that's the person that was being mistreated. And then there's the guilty party, the one that's guilty of being toxic. But you ought to look at it like this. Why did you stay? If you were in a toxic relationship, why did you stay? Do you realize that the very fact that you stayed in a toxic relationship makes you just as toxic? A lot of people don't look at it like that or think about it like that. They blame the other person. They just point the finger at them. It's them. They did this to me and they did that to me and they cheated on me and they abused me. They hit me. They beat me. They emotionally abused me. They traumatized me. They did this, just on and on and on. But why did you stay? Like, why? This thing is doing whatever. But why would you stay in a toxic environment? Why would you stay with someone that mistreats you? Why would you stay with someone that cheats on you? Why would you stay with someone that physically abuses you? Why would you stay with a narcissist? Why would you stay with someone that doesn't love you? That doesn't support you, that doesn't encourage you, that doesn't motivate you and inspire you and bring out the best in you? The only reason you would stay in a toxic relationship is because you're toxic too. But you're toxic in a different way. Here's another point I want to draw out real quick. Is there is a law of attraction, and I won't get into, what that law is, but The people that are in our lives because we attracted them. Toxic attracts toxic, and there's so many different ways one can be toxic. Toxic isn't just being abusive or narcissist or arrogant or unfaithful or dishonest. Toxic is also being desperate. Toxic is self-hate. It's low self-esteem. It's a lack of confidence in yourself. It's a lack of courage. Fear is toxic. These are things that we don't tend to think about. And so all the people in our lives we attract one way or the other. And if you're not repelled by a toxic person, it's because you're toxic. Like, I listen to people, talk about their relationships and, people that have been in just toxic relationships and marriages for fucking decades. 10 years, 20 years, even longer. 5 years. How does it even get to 1 year, though? How do you even? Because surely, we can't hide who we really are. It's impossible. Because whatever we are in our hearts is going to express or be expressed through our words and through our actions. It's impossible for it to be any other way. So the only way, like, I hear this a lot of times, like, from people that have been in these toxic relationships for, long periods of time, they'll say things like, they tricked me. They pretended to be someone they weren't. Excuse me. They deceived me. They were such a good actor. There were no signs. He or she were a totally different person in the beginning. I had no idea, there were no clues, on and on and on. And, people say things like this because they don't want to take responsibility for themselves. There's always signs. There's always clues. A person can only be who they are. A person can only speak from the heart. And so it's never a matter of whether they were so slick and so cunning and so smart and such a great liar, such a great deceiver, that that there were just no signs of what this person was really like. That's never the case. Prove me wrong. What it is if you're toxic, you will justify toxic behavior. You know, a person could say some toxic ass shit and then laugh it off like I was just playing, and you will believe it. Oh, he was just playing. Oh, she was just playing. Oh, they didn't mean that. And you'll believe it. You'll ignore the signs because you're toxic. You know, one really popular toxic trait is, I mentioned desperation, and it's the desperation to belong to someone. It's the desperation or the thirst to be able to say that you're in a relationship, that you have a man, you have a woman, you have a husband, you have a wife. It's the desperation to not be single. It's the desperation to feel accepted and loved because you don't accept and love yourself. So you're seeking it, you know, from someone else. This is toxic. This is toxicity that people don't talk about, though. So if you have traits like that, you'll ignore a lot of shit. You'll laugh a lot of shit off. You'll justify a lot of shit. A lot of toxic shit. To try to hold on because this person says they love you. They say they care about you. They say they want you. They want to be with you. And because your self-esteem is so low, because your lack of self-love is so high and your self-hatred is so high and your confidence is so low and you're so insecure and you're so concerned about what other people think and all these toxic traits, because all these toxic traits exist in you, you wind up with someone that's toxic, but a different type of toxic than you. And that's how it works. That's what it is. So, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to wrap this video up because I feel like I said enough right there for anyone that's in a toxic situation or has been in a toxic situation or find themselves in toxic cycles, meaning one toxic relationship after the other. It's a pattern, which is really common too. And these people say things like, I don't know why I always end up with guys like this, or I don't know why I always end up with girls like this. Because you're just recycling the same experiences. It's just different people. Similar, very similar types of people though. Different bodies. And that's because as long as you're toxic, you will always attract toxic people. And you will find yourself attracted to toxic people. You will fall for toxic people. And you will just keep repeating this cycle until you confront your own toxicity. Why don't I love myself? What do I dislike about me? You know, these tough questions that you have to face and answer. You have to search. It's a journey of discovery. You have to learn to love yourself. Because until you love yourself and accept yourself fully, then you will always find yourself settling. You will always find yourself in toxic situations with toxic people. Because you don't love yourself to say, I deserve better than this. You don't love yourself enough to let this go. You don't love yourself enough to believe that you deserve better and can have better. You don't love yourself enough to take a stand and say, I'll be single for the rest of my life before I deal with somebody like that. So I'm going to leave that right there. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any thoughts on that, I feel like that's enough for, whoever this applies to think about, and meditate on. And, if this applies to you, I believe that this will definitely, if you can accept what I said and receive it, and stop pointing the finger at him and her and them and all these other people, and take full responsibility and say, I was in this situation because of me. I accepted this. I allowed these things to happen. Which is another great point. You're in a toxic relationship. No one is doing anything to you but what you allow. No one should ever be able to cheat on you 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Because if they cheat on you once, that should be the end of the relationship. You should be cutting them off. No one should ever, you shouldn't ever be abused twice. There shouldn't be a such thing of an abusive relationship. Because a person should only have one time to show you that they're abusive. And that should be the end of the relationship. You should be cutting them off without any hesitation. So to be in an abusive relationship means that you are allowing abuse. Whatever form it's in, you are allowing it. If you're in a toxic relationship, you are allowing it. If you're in a relationship, so many people are in relationships with people that hate them, that show every day that they hate them. And they hate them through their actions and through their words. But why are you still there? A person should only have one time to show you that they hate you. That should be the end of that relationship. So if you're still there, you're allowing it. So if this applies to you, And if you haven't done this already, it's time that you stop looking at them. Stop focusing on them and focusing on what they did and what they said, and focus on you. Why did you allow it? And start addressing that. And these are the first steps to healing. And when you heal, you get to a place to where you love yourself, you respect yourself, you honor yourself, you know that you deserve the best. You will transmit a totally different type of energy. You won't be sending out energy of desperation and energy of low self-esteem. You know, all these things are energies. Energies of low self-confidence or no confidence at all. Energies of self-hate. And you'll start attracting a totally different type of people. And when someone does approach you that's toxic, you'll be able to pick up on it right away. And not only that, you'll be able to say, that ain't what I want. It was nice meeting you. And go your way. And you won't even entertain that. So that's all I have for this. Let me know what you think.